A lifeline for the Owls. Temple men's basketball is in good shape as Selection Sunday nears.
But first, off to Memphis in the Owls' journey to the tourney. Plus, the final game on North Broad for Mr. Big Five. The story on Fran Dunphy's final game at the Liacouras Center.
And a Fran farewell. OwlSports Update is live and it starts right now.
Hello everybody, Sean McGeehan here alongside Dan Wilson for another edition of OwlSports Update. Stick with us a little longer today. We've got you for the next hour.
Yes, for the next 30 minutes, we'll let you caught up on a busy spring break for Temple Athletics. That included some NCAA qualifiers, a fourth quarter meltdown, and we'll rush the court.
Then at the bottom of the hour, we'll step aside and Sarah Metz will take over on desk for a 30-minute special we're calling a Fran Farewell. But let's begin on the men's side in a trip to Graceland. The AAC tournament is officially underway, although Temple won't play until next Friday thanks to a first-round bye. While the Owls' chances of dancing in March are much better after their win against UCF on Saturday, a run this weekend in Memphis could move them well off the bubble. OwlSports Update's Allie McCann is traveling with the team and checked in right before taking off at the Philadelphia International Airport.
Thanks, guys. The men's basketball team landed in Memphis on Wednesday, and we're following a day behind as we're currently at the Philadelphia airport, expected to land this afternoon. Now, the Owls are still a bubble team and have a lot to get from the AAC tournament, starting with their first matchup on Friday, where they'll face the winner of the Wichita State versus ECU game. That matchup takes place tonight.
Because we want the best seed as possible if we're going to be in there, so we don't want to leave it up to anybody. And the only way you can do that is by winning the conference championship. So we're going to keep that same attitude that we got to win, we must win, and hopefully it works out.
After whatever happens on Thursday night, we'll find our next opponent. But it's fun to be in this position, and we have to embrace it and enjoy it, and we have to meet the challenge on Friday.
It doesn't really matter. We're in the tournament. I'm happy. If I didn't win Most Improved or any of the teams, I would have been content. We made it to the tournament, so that's all that really matters.
The Wichita State versus ECU game is on tonight at 11 o'clock Eastern Time. The Owls are in action tomorrow night at 10 o'clock Eastern Time. Be sure to tune into all outlets of social media for OwlSports Update, where I'll be covering the game. Reporting from the Philadelphia airport, I'm Allie McCann. Guys.
Thanks, Allie. The Owls head to Memphis as winners of 6 of their last 7. And the biggest came Saturday against nationally ranked UCF in front of nearly 10,000 strong at the Liacouras Center. This was a game with a ton of storylines. All sorts of emotions running high before the start of this one. First, the moment of silence for longtime sports information director Al Schreier, and of course, a standing ovation for Fran Dunphy in his final home game. Early first half, Quentin Rose making the extra pass to an open Shiz Alston Jr., who knocks down the 3. He led the Owls with 21. Other end of the floor, Aubrey Dawkins hits the triple. Dawkins' game-high 36 points nearly single-handedly kept UCF in the game. Justin Hamilton fakes the handoff and one dunk. It's a one-point game at the half. J.P. Mormon getting in on the action. Sets up the all-AAC first-teamer on the floater, but who else for UCF? Aubrey Dawkins getting everything bounced his way in this one. However, the Owls really just had too much on the line. Quentin Rose slams it home. Owls get a huge 67-62 win over UCF to send Dunphy out a winner.
Before the Owls wrapped up their final game of the regular season against UCF, Fran Dunphy was honored in his last home contest of his illustrious 13-year career at Temple. It was an emotional night for Dunphy, Temple Athletics, and the nearly 10,000 fans in attendance. OwlSports Update's Amadeo Gracia gives us a look at the fantastic ending to Dunphy's time at the Liacouras Center.
Fran Dunphy gave 13 years at Temple. On Saturday, a crowd of almost 10,000 fans came to say thank you in Dunphy's final game at the Liacouras Center.
It was great. And I had so many of my buddies, that have busted on me for all these years, and they're all in the stands. So it was really pretty cool. And I was thrilled.
There was so much on the line in Temple's game versus UCF, but even as a bubble team playing against a nationally ranked team, Dunphy was still the main storyline for those on both benches.
I'm glad Coach is getting his just due. You know, so much you hear that he hasn't won the tournament and this and that, but he's one of the best coaches, you know, around in the country, and he's a Hall of Fame coach.
I have a lot of respect for Coach Dunphy. He's one of the coaches I've known the longest, because I've known him when he was even an assistant. You know, he's at American University when I used to train up there, and I was really young, and he always treated me, great.
Not every coach gets a chance at being in one city for the majority of their career, but Temple head coach Fran Dunphy has been fortunate enough to do so.
Nobody should be that lucky. I don't know. I've been in two wonderful institutions in a great city. I mean, I say it all the time. I've lived in the same house since 1984 and still coaching. Nobody in our business does that.
30 years and more than 500 wins later as a head coach, it's easy to see why. Reporting from the Leah Core Center, I'm Amadeo Gracia, OwlSports Update.
As we mentioned at the top of the show, the American Athletic Conference tournament has arrived, and the Owls are in great shape at the end of the regular season.
Not just the UCF win, but the Owls are 8-2 since the start of February. Let's take a look at how the Owls shape up compared to the rest of the conference.
Taking a look at the standings here, Temple will enter the tournament as the 3 seed with a first-round bye after beating the UCF Knights on Saturday and getting some help later in the night from Wichita State, who beat Tulane on a buzzer beater.
The top 4 seeds get that first-round bye, but getting that 3rd seed is big for many reasons. The biggest, Temple avoids having to likely play Memphis in the quarterfinals on its home court at the FedEx Forum. That's now UCF's problem. The Owls are set to face off against either Wichita State or ECU in the second round, depending on the outcome of that first-round game Thursday night. This is good news for Temple, as they have not lost to ECU in over 2 seasons and have 71% winning percentage against Wichita State. So if all goes according to seeding, Temple will end up with Cincinnati in the semifinals on Saturday.
And like we said, keep an eye on Memphis. Assuming the Tigers can get out of that first-round matchup versus Tulane, who didn't win a conference game all year, they would end up facing UCF in the second round. The team split the season series at a game apiece with 2 competitive contests, so Memphis could be poised for a run, especially with that home court advantage. But it's time for us to take our first break in the show. Be sure to stick with us, because when we come back, we'll take you over to the women's side of Temple basketball and bring you a story about a senior guard who's leaving behind a great legacy on North Broad.
Plus, we'll sit down with fencing head coach Nikki Frank as she looks back on her 40-plus years as a coach of Temple's one of most successful programs. OwlSports Update, we'll be right back. Women's basketball was trying to create a little madness of their own last Friday as they took on 11th-seeded Memphis for the second time in 5 days in the first round of the AAC tournament. The Owls smoked by the Tigers by 31 on the road to close out the regular season, and we need to beat them again to advance in the quarterfinals. And it looked great up in Connecticut for 3 quarters. Second quarter action, Mia Davis finishes through the contact for 2 of her 14 points. Third quarter now. Sophomore Jada Stinson knocks down one of her 3 makes from beyond the arc. Final minute of the quarter, Lena Young puts the Owls back up by double digits. Owls lead by 15 after 3. But wait, a 23-6 Memphis run has them within 2, and Gasmin Herndon ties it. And then just 40 seconds later, Jamira Schutz gives the Tigers the first lead. And Aaliyah Butts brings the Owls within 1 with 26 seconds to go, but Temple never gets off a game-winning shot, losing the first round 59-58. The fourth quarter collapse is heartbreaking. The Owls led by 15 after 3 quarters and by as many as 19 in the fourth. However, Memphis outscored Temple 28-12 in the final quarter to win this one in improbable fashion. Tigers shot 5 of 7 from 3 in the fourth quarter after hitting just 2 of 16 in the first 3. The Owls end the year with an 11-19 record.
Before the trip to Connecticut, on March 2nd to be exact, Aaliyah Butts played her final game at Pearson McGonigal Hall. She leaves as one of the most successful players in women's history. OwlSports Update's Ray Dunn talked with some of Aaliyah's teammates to discuss the legacy she's leaving behind on North Broad.
Temple's second most accomplished scorer has seen her final game come and go. After 5 seasons with the Owls, Aaliyah Butts leaves behind a lasting legacy on the court and within the locker room she led this season.
At the end, she's taught me how to be the person I am. and player I am. So she's a very great person on and off the court. It was great playing with her.
Aaliyah make me a better person in like different ways on the floor, making sure, telling me what to do if I'm not doing something right.
After sitting out last season due to injury, the graduate guard reemerged as the guiding force for the Owls, becoming the first player in program history to be selected all-conference 4 times, not to mention serving as a team captain.
Butts has had a career for the record books. She currently ranks 1st all-time in steals, 2nd all-time in scoring, and 4th all-time in assists. Numbers like that should get her up in the rafters one day.
Aaliyah is actually, whether y'all see it or not, she's actually very hard on us. She wants to win, and when we're not doing something right, she's on us all the time. That makes her a great leader.
Aaliyah will be remembered by a player who's hardworking, crafty, can shoot the ball, get steals, great listener. She listens to coach. She just do all the little things.
And while her contributions on the court will certainly be missed, Coach Tanya Cardoza says that her outgoing and fun personality is what she will remember most. Reporting from Pearson Conical Hall, I'm Ray Dunn, OwlSports Update.
Butts finishes her career with 1,936 points, 2nd all-time at Temple. Butts will graduate Temple in May with a bachelor's degree in communication studies, and she does plan on playing professionally. And this past Saturday, Temple fencing dominated at the NCAA Mid-Atlantic and South Regional Tournament. The team had 2 top 5 finishers in the Sabre event, with junior Carrie Plunkett finishing in 4th place and senior Blessing Alode taking the crown. This win earned Alode her first trip to the NCAA championships. These girls were 2 of 4 Owls to make it to the finals on Saturday. Junior Kennedy Lovelace earned 3rd place in the foil event, and sophomore Megan Ross was able to make her first ever finals appearance with a 12th place foil finish. Alode, Plunkett, and Lovelace will all go on to compete in the NCAA championships next weekend.
February was Black History Month. March is Women's History Month. If you combine the two, you won't find a better example of success than from Nikki Frank, Temple's longtime fencing coach. And with that, we welcome OwlSports Update's Brooklyn Vaughn at the Plasma. Hey, Brooklyn.
Guys, just like the sport itself, Nikki Frank comes at you with many weapons. Once a young student athlete herself, then an Olympian, and now one of the winningest coaches in all of fencing. But overall, Dr. Frank is someone who takes pride in helping young women reach their potential, both on and off the strip. And she's been doing it for 46 years. I had the privilege of sitting down with Coach Frank to discuss the barriers women face in sports and her part in breaking through those barriers.
I think there are things that have opened up and become much more available to women of color, but it's still, for women in general, especially in the coaching field, it's still something where our numbers aren't where they should be, and for women of color, they're especially low in many sports, and so there's still a lot of work to do, and it needs to be much more inclusive. It still is not perfect.
You know, when you take a look at your roster, you have such a beautifully diverse group of young women. And what does that mean to you? You know, why is that so special?
I think it's very important. I think it's, you know, young women come to college and part of their education is their environment. And I think Temple provides an environment of diversity, which is very important for a lot of parents. And then for the young ladies that come here, you know, most of them do not come from a city, they're not used to a city, but they want a city experience. And I think our team, and as diverse as our team is, it really mimics our society, and it helps prepare them for the work world when they leave college. And so I think being at a university like Temple, being in Philadelphia, having diversity on our team is essential. From my point of view.
What do you want to be associated with your name? And even in the future, what do you want the name Nikki Frank to mean?
I wanted to bring a smile to people's faces. I want it to remind people of what hard work what you can accomplish, regardless of what obstacles are out there, and to know that that there was always someone who cared about them. As people, not just as fencers.
And stay tuned to our social media for the full-length sit-down with Dr. Nikki Frank. Reporting from the Plasma, I'm Brooklyn Vaughn. Sean and Dan, back to you guys.
Thanks, Brooklyn. We have to use another one of our timeouts, but don't go anywhere.
When we return, we take a look back at the life of Temple legend Al Schreier.
And I didn't ask his wife, but she's probably the only one that knows what was in that bag that he was carrying all the time. And he never went anywhere without that bag.
I'm sure he got some stuff in that briefcase. We would like to look at some of those papers that he got hiding in there. Probably some stats from Wilt Chamberlain's 100-point game in that briefcase. Who knows? But
you see Howard Eskin and Aaron McKee talking about the late Al Schreier, who passed away early on the morning of March 4th. He was known as the man with the briefcase, and a man who was universally loved and respected. So much so that the basketball media room in the Leah Corr Center is named after him. And there's a banner in the rafters after the Leah Corr Center, also with his name on it. Schreier was Temple's sports information director for 65 years. He graduated from Temple in 1952 and began work in Temple's athletic department almost immediately after. He was there during the Harry Litwick years. He also was in charge of media for the legendary 1992 NCAA Tournament East Regional at the Spectrum. And he ended his time taking care of Fran Dunphy and his crew. Today we want to take some much-deserved time to take a look back at the life of Al Schreier. First through the eyes as part of an interview we did back in 2015, and then through the eyes of some who will miss him dearly.
Spent more time or worked more diligently serving Temple University.
Sports Media Relations Director, Al Schreier.
Right now, I'm a special assistant to the Director of Athletics, but over the course of time, I've done everything here but coach. I've been business manager, I've been assistant to the assistant AD, sports information director. One of the biggest games I ever had was when we were #1 and Villanova was nationally ranked too, and we managed to get every media person seated. It was a struggle, but we did it. But we have a lot of big games that we were able to take care of people. I was shocked. Usually they can't shock me with things, but this really surprised me. When they said, look up, and I saw it go up there, and I said, my goodness, they're retiring my briefcase.
Working with the media isn't always easy, but Al Schreier made it an art. Helping and directing student journalists at Temple, Schreier was a man who influenced many different people, including Philadelphia media legends such as Merrill Reese and ESPN's Kevin Negandhi. OwlSports Updates' J.J. Mahowski brings us the memories of Al Schreier and his time with the Cherry and White.
When a legend passes, it's time to celebrate their journey.
The lives of numerous people in his time at Temple. He will be deeply missed. Thank you.
Al Schreier is the longest tenured sports information director in the history of intercollegiate athletics, with 65 years of experience. He started working the day after his graduation in 1953 and stayed on North Broad until retiring in June of 2017.
He was there at the beginning of my career when I started covering sports. And if I had to name other people in his position, I don't think I'd remember him as well as I remember Al Schreier.
One of a kind. I mean, there was nobody like Schreier. And from whatever was in the briefcase to whatever else was going on in the city. I mean, he knew so many different people. He always had a guy too,
For his service, Schreier is honored in the Leah Corr Center. The Al Schreier Media Room and banner in the rafters now serve as a testament to the years of dedication and hard work.
That day, we surprised him. We brought him into the media room and he thought, oh, the media room's redone, that's my surprise. No, we brought you on the court at halftime and that was your surprise.
Most people still wonder what was in the briefcase all this time. And whenever asked, Schreier would reply, none of your damn business.
Schreier spent most of his career right here in McGonigal Hall. He interacted with and motivated thousands of student athletes and coaches, including Aaron McKee.
We went out in the arena and it was just like a shock to our system to see so many people out there in the stands getting ready to watch us practice. Come running past him and he grabbed me and said, hey, welcome to the big time. Thought that was pretty cool.
When I go on the road with Temple and I go to different cities, people ask about Al Schreier. They don't ask about the president of the university houses. They say, how's Al Schreier doing? Because he touched so many lives through just being kind and caring.
Al Schreier was 88. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. Student sections are always known for their crazy attempts to try and distract their opponents.
And in Temple's very own student section, the Cherry Crusade certainly holds up to the billing. One of their ideas is extremely hard to miss, and while they make messing with your head to the next level, OwlSports Update's Alyssa Stavinsky brings more.
When you go to any Temple basketball game, you're guaranteed to see Meek Mill, Kevin Hart, ESPN's Kevin Negandhi, and even the Philly Fanatic. Not in person, but actually larger than life. And I'm talking about fatheads. Every home game, the Cherry Crusade pulls out its favorite oversized heads for the second half when the opposing team is coming their way, with the hopes that they distract the visitors just enough to change the game.
So like every year we'll try and do rounds of people. So this year was Philly, last year was all memes. So we had SpongeBob, we had Gavin. Usually switches off between the two, like whatever's in vogue that year or anything that's popular on the internet at that given time.
Using a fathead to mess with your head doesn't take much precision. It's more about the superstition, and it all starts right on the foul line.
The last 2 seasons I rocked heavy with Danny DeVito. I found him to be pretty good luck. There was one game where I had Danny, and we went 6 for 6 that day, and dude missed all 6 of his foul shots.
On TV, it's hard to tell just how big these fatheads really are. They're about 3 feet tall and 2 feet wide. Plenty big to be noticed by anyone at the foul line.
And that just proved to be true this season. So we counted all of the free throws taken in the first half versus the second half of all home games this year. The bottom 2 lines in yellow are the important ones. It shows the visiting team's foul shooting percentage is roughly 4 points lower in the second half when they face the fatheads.
I think that's the role that they bring in just creating sort of like a chaotic atmosphere to maybe influence a shot.
With their growing success, it's clear that the fathead phenomenon will not disappear from Temple's basketball culture anytime soon. Reporting from the Leah Cora Center, I'm Alyssa Stavinsky, OwlSports Update.
What makes these fatheads even more impressive is that the entire creation process takes place right here on campus. The Cherry Crusade raises the funds themselves, picks the characters, and gets them made at the Graphics Media Center.
These creations can be made in less than 2 weeks and then get added to the already large collection for future seasons. It's time to get back to 10th and Diamond. It's been a crazy offseason for Temple football. After suffering a tough loss to Duke in the 2018 Independence Bowl and losing 2 head coaches with both Jeff Collins and Manny Diaz taking jobs down south, the Owls are back on the gridiron. Their spring practices have begun with a new guy in town, head coach Rod Carey.
That was a good start, really. I've been around a lot worse first days. The energy was good. Now we're only in our underwear, so I mean we're not playing football yet, but it was a good start.
The energy was obviously there, but it's obviously the little details we got to fix. You know, it's the first day we learned a new playbook, offensively, defensively, and special teams. So that was just the only little shaky part, and just us getting used to the transitions throughout practice.
The Owls will have a total of 15 spring practices over the next month per NCAA rules. Practices are split up by position, and it all concludes with the annual full squad Cherry and White Fan Fest at the Temple Sports Complex on April 13th.
And another reminder, stay with us here on TUTV, because coming up at the bottom of the hour, it's time for a Fran Farewell, as Sarah Metz and company highlight Fran Dunphy's illustrious 13-year career in the brand new half-hour special.
That'll do it for this edition of OwlSports Update.
I'm Dan Wilson. He's Sean McGeehan. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Stick around for the Fran Farewell. It starts after the break.